welcome to the Crafty Mini. In this one, bit of a strange video. I'm going to be chatting about AI in the miniature sort of hobby space. Now, a good friend of the channel and a gentleman who I've met at a few conventions, and I always end up buying stuff from him. Cosmic Fantastic 3D Printing. I'll put a little thing up for him there. Please go and check him out on Facebook and Instagram. So he does miniature 3D printing. As I say, I've met him at a few conventions now, and I always end up buying something from him. His print qualities are really good. But he WhatsApped me a few weeks back, just basically wanted my opinion on some of these sculpts that he had, some images that he'd sent. And as we were looking through and going back and forth, talking about like the quality of the sculpts and how they've really come out nice, and you know, some of them have got really nice musculature like this one that he sent me, and various other things. He started telling me about this AI application that he uses, and he basically puts the prompts in almost like an image generator, but it will produce the STL files for the actual miniatures themselves. And it was just a really interesting conversation back and forth about how this program works. And to be fair, some of the images he sent me, they look really good. The technology is obviously there for it to it trawls through the internet and various other things and picks up what the sort of standard look would be for these types of creatures. Some of the prompts you have to be quite literal with, like there was a skeleton with a bow and arrow that looked very static and you couldn't really get a dynamic pose and things. But yeah, it was a really interesting conversation. As I say, went back and forth, and then he said, look, I'll send you a couple of miniatures to paint up, see what you think. And this was one of them, this orc with, it's a sort of club that he's got. The weaponry doesn't really register as well, but the miniature itself and the way the program has come up with like all the musculature and then the pose, it's a really nice high detailed STL file that it's created, which is then printed. And yeah, it's a really interesting sort of idea for the 3D printing sort of universe now out there, because in theory you could create anything, and if this, you know, this program, if depending on exactly how you want it and how you word it, it could come up with something that you can then print off and paint, and maybe it'll open the door to, you know, more ideas, more sort of designs for things. Is it the constraints on it and things like that would be interesting, and he's using it at the moment and coming up with some cool ideas. So I thought I'd this particular miniature I'd paint. Now I'll go into more with the AI and the 3D printing in a moment. Just briefly want to explain what it is I'm painting and why I chose this colour scheme. So, because of him being, basically he's pretty much a naked orc apart from the sort of belt and the loincloth. I wanted him just to do something different, because last week I did the orc skin, which with the green, which I love, but I feel that's for a very specific type, that almost 40k style. Whereas with this you can experiment a bit more, and I was thinking, well, what sort of setting, and with the strange club that he's got, I came up with the idea of some sort of like island dwelling orc. And then so for colour schemes I started looking through, you know, natural creatures and things, and came up with the shark. Got this really nice grey white underbelly and this harsh dark blue on the outer part of its skin, so I thought, right, we'd mimic that for the actual paint job itself, and that's what we're going to go for, and you'll see me paint throughout the video itself. So his chest and his belly is going to be the paler sort of colour, and then it'll grade into the dark blue, almost bluish grey, and then on the back itself will be a much harsher, darker grey, and it should transition quite nicely between the two. So for the AI itself, there's plenty of software out there. So I've gone through some, and this one here, Meshy. So this has 3D prints. It shows you sign up for free. You have so many credits a month and whatnot. But I just decided to look through the sort of community created stuff, and it's really interesting. What I like with this is it'll show you what the 3D print will be, and we'll have a closer look at some of the files in a second. But in terms of like creator stuff. It's really interesting. You can see here some of the fidelity. So there's this 3D bust, and there's this mode here where you can show what it would be for like the print file, almost like on Blender when you're making STL files and things. But the graphic fidelity is really interesting. You get a lot of detail on here, and things like this for a bust would be really interesting and pretty cool to paint. You know, nice little features, scars and things. In terms of the actual creating them, the specifics on how you describe the item and things like that. Like on the bottom of this here where it says Stark on the base, it hasn't spelt it right because it's AI. But I showed this one off because I like the idea of you could, in theory, create a scenic base all printed in one, and then create something nice, a little diorama or whatnot. And then there's other sculpts like this. Now this, with the guitar and the fidelity on the quality, I think this is perhaps more like a 28mm scale or a tabletop scale miniature rather than a high-end bust. But you can see like all the folds in the capes and things. There's a lot of stuff there you can do with, and there's various different styles and things you can go through. This is more like a cartoony sort of style, but it's really interesting idea that you can use AI, because AI image creators have been around for years now, but using them to that sort of idea, and then using the different softwares in order to create the actual STL files, which you can then just download and print and get them painted up and whatnot. I find it absolutely fascinating. Will it replace things in the long run in terms of actual sculpting and miniatures? I'm not sure, because there are certain things, certain nuances that come with both forms. So like for example, a hand sculpted miniature, you could find that there's little issues, or with the actual casting process or whatnot. Same with actual 3D printing. If it's not supported properly, or the little nibs from the support joints can be a pain to clean and things. So both sides have their pros and cons. But yeah, it's a fascinating, interesting place we're at now with 3D printing, and the fact that we can seemingly create anything we want with the correct prompts. I mean, there will be an issue later on with like intellectual properties and who actually owns it. Is it the software company that you put the prompts in, or is it the individual themselves and stuff like that? But yeah, fascinating look into sort of AI sculpting. Whether it's something, I mean, I don't 3D print models anyway, but I might use the software to create a miniature or a bust that I want to paint. So I might have a play around and do a future video on that, just showing you how the process works and what sort of prompts you have to put in. From what I understand when I was chatting to Cosmic, was some of the prompts you have to be a bit more literal, because it does, obviously the AI will take from various sources and get something in like a middle ground. So you do have to be very specific on stuff. That being said, this particular Orc miniature, I mean, the quality on the print is fantastic. Like the muscles and all the little variation on the skin, and there's a lot of texture and enough detail there to pick out and do a nice paint job with. Some slightly strange stuff in the fact that he's only got 4 toes on each foot, but 4 fingers and a thumb on each hand. From what he said, he put a club in as the weapon. The club's a little bit strange. I thought it was a giant brush at first, but it's effectively just a lump of wood with like a brass neck attached with a bit of twine, and it's just a shaft of wood really. So depending on that and sort of like the details, I mean, I'm not sure if you put it into say like a bracelet or a moon style belt buckle, or if the AI has just picked that up. So it'd be interesting to play with, and it's definitely a video I'm gonna mess around with the future. See if I can create something and get someone to print off items for me. They've various sculpts or ideas of monsters and things that I want to paint. I would be interested to see how far you can push the AI as well, because those who've watched the channel and the subscribers, you'll know that I do a lot of monsters and twisted sort of more horror based stuff. So I don't know if the AI can pick that up, so definitely something I'm going to have a play with. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, what you think about this. Is it going to be a help or a hindrance to the actual hobby in future as it goes. I think it can personally go both ways, but I find it very interesting. And as I say, this model that he sent me, really cool. Enjoyed painting it. It's got, as I say, a lot of nice detail and things, so definitely one to look out for in the future. That being said, we'll finish up the actual painting. I'll show you the final sort of shots of him. But go and check out Cosmic Fantastic on Facebook and TikTok. He's got a good sort of photo library of all his prints and some of the projects he's worked on and paint jobs and things. Really cool. As I say, lovely guy. Met him a few times now at local events, and as I say, I always part with my own cash because the quality of his prints are really, really good. There's a few of them that have been on the channel in the past as well that you've seen. So ones like the Wasteland bus that I did, and a few others have actually featured on the channel. But yeah, let me know what you think about this whole AI designing STL program. I find it very interesting. We'll do a future video where I'll actually go and design some stuff and sort of take you along the design process ride with it. But thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.